Hello everybody. I hope you saw my BJ presentation video number 3. So in that video, I gave a small information about chapter 5, history part that which comes under social studies, class 10 of CBSE stream. So I was not able to cover the whole topic because it was just for sample purposes. And now BJ presentation videos number 4. So I'll be discussing about the principles of management, which comes again under class 12 of CBSE stream, business studies subject. Okay, so as the topic goes on, principles of management. So first, as usually I used to tell, you should be familiar with the topic. So what do you mean by these principles? There are two words here, principles of management, principles and management. Let us discuss this before we go ahead. Principles. What do you mean by principles? You know that principles means it is a set of guidelines. Okay. For example, let us take for example some people. If you ask them, hello, what are your principles? So some may tell like this, my dear boy, whether it shines or whether it rains, I get up sharp at 5 o'clock in the morning. After my ablutions, I think you know ablutions, brushing teeth and other thing. So after my ablutions, I compulsorily go for an exercise for 1 hour after taking 2 glasses of water. So after my exercise, I come back and take 2 glasses of milk with 2 biscuits after a small relaxation exercise, and the routine goes on. Now here, principles. Now this person has habituated like this for a quite longer time, and that habit has become his principle. So likewise, even management also, it cannot be, that management is nothing but it is the process of getting things done by a system. Okay, once again, management is the process of getting things done through a system, by having a system. So in our example, I told you that person who used to go for a walk and exercise for 1 hour and all. So likewise, whatever we do, there are certain principles which has to be followed. So in this, let us see this. Even this management, as I told, the topic goes on, principles of management. Even the management is expected to follow certain principles. So we are going to discuss about this. Okay, fine. Now you know that there are 14 principles of management, and now see there are many personalities who have discussed about the principles of management. Now I'd like to bring out Henry Fayle's views on the principles of management. Now before going ahead, let us see who is this Henry Fayle. Now Henry Fayle was basically a mining engineer who worked for a mining company, and later on he founded his own mining company, and he took to the position of managing director, and his period was between 1845 to 1925. So let us not go very, very deep. If it was social studies, you should have gone deeper. But it is enough for our knowledge purposes, to have a brief note on Henry Fayle. Now this Henry Fayle, he did not bring out these principles of management on a one blue moon day. No. So he has tried and tested several ways, and a lot of research was being done, and the practical applicability was observed. And finally, he has devised a total of 14 principles which are widely applied in the present days, of course, even in the olden days also. But it is very popular in the modern world, whatever the case may be, whether it is a small organization or a big organization or the mediocre organization, everywhere they follow these principles. And it is result oriented and tried and tested in many times. And so it has become a habit of all the organizations to follow these principles of management for efficient and effective achievement of goals. Okay, fine. So let us move on to these 14 principles one by one. Now here I'd like to tell that it may not be possible to cover all the 14 principles in one shot. So I have made it into two parts. So BJ presentation videos 4 will be covering 7 principles of management according to Henry Fayol, and BJ presentation videos 5 will be covering the next 7 principles. Okay, fine. Without taking much of time, let us start off these principles right away. Now, the first principle of Henry Fayol was division of labor. Division of labor. Now, you know that Henry Fayol has advocated division of labor as one of the principles of management. Now, what is this division of labor? So let me bring a small meaning. First, let us see the meaning of division of labor. Later, I will give an example so that would make you comfortable to understand. So, division of labor means dividing the whole task into separate units and asking them to do a particular type of task so that it becomes effective and efficient, and ultimately it contributes to the goals of success of the organization. So this is a simple meaning which we can do. That is dividing the whole task into a number of units or departments according to the skill of the workers or anything like that. Now let me introduce my example here. Now let us take a very simple example so that it will be comfortable for you to understand the concept here. You know, while you study management, you should understand the concept. Once you understand the concept and pick out the key points, you can use your own words to explain the further areas. Okay, fine. Now, division of labor. What is the example? So I have taken the example of a bakery. Now let us take an example of a bakery which is manufacturing bread, buns, pastries, puddings, cakes, etc., etc. Okay. So instead of throwing the whole lot of work in manufacturing all these bakery products to all the employees, it would be definitely systematic, effective and efficient if they divide the whole process into units. Like for example, a section or a unit or a department can bake only breads, and the next next unit or department would manufacture buns. Similarly, the third unit may go in to prepare cakes, and next one puddings, pastries, etc., etc. So by doing this, what happens here? Definitely, the workers who continuously do the same work every day again and again, they become experts and skilled and become more confident, and they complete the task effectively as well as efficiently. Effectively and efficiently, and they become skilled, and further they might also become the future leaders also because they know in and out, right? So this is division of labor. So this is the first principle. So ultimate result would be effective, the organization would be effective and efficient because a lot of time is saved, and when workers become skilled, they are able to accomplish the task very effectively according to the expected results of the organization, so that the graph of the organization moves forward. Okay. Let us move on to the second principle of management according to Henry Fail. Now, I missed to tell this. Henry Fail was a French theorist also. French theory. He was not only a mining engineer. Basically he was a French national and a mining engineer, and he was a French theorist also. What do you mean by theorist? Theorist means who have given a lot of ideas, thoughts, and contributions in the way of journals, in the way of reports, theses, and all. Okay, so we should not forget that Henry Fail was also a French theorist also, who has contributed in the form of books and journals and so on. Okay, fine. Let us go to the second principle of management according to Henry Fail. First one was division of labor, finish. Second, authority and responsibility. What is this authority and responsibility? There are two words, authority and responsibility. Now, okay, we have planned into several units of the whole company which is making the bakery products, and workers start doing according to the skills, and they start producing according to the target fixed. So, why this authority and responsibility comes? It is not enough to have workers alone. There must be a person to oversee all the work or the concerned department, so that the workers know, the employees know whom they have to report, how much they have to do, which way they have to do, how far they can go ahead, and what the company expects. Okay, so authority. In simple terms, authority means it is the power to give orders for the workers or employees, as we say. It is a power to give the orders to the workers or employees, whatever way you take. So this is authority. Now a very simple example in our daily lives. Suppose the policeman does not have the power, how can he exercise his authority? If the principal of a school does not have the power, how can he exercise his authority? Or the teachers and both the teaching and non-teaching staff? We cannot. So similarly, in an organization also, in our factory, for example, our company is making bakery products, when there are some responsible managers, and it is not enough if we make a manager sit in his chair. So we have to give adequate power to him so that he uses his power to command the employees or workers and get the work done by them. This is what authority means. Okay. Similarly, the workers also know that they have to report to a concerned person about their daily routine. They have to submit certain reports to the managers as and when asked. So this is authority. What is this responsibility? Responsibility means it refers to the obedience. That means we have to follow the authority exercised by the superiors. So responsibility. Now, when we speak about responsibility, suppose the manager is telling every 5 hours the turnover, the bread output should be 5,000 units. That means per hour 1,000 units of bread should come out. That means he has discussed and planned in several ways, and he has tried and tested and he has fixed it. So that has to be followed by the workers. So if the workers fail to achieve that 1,000 bread per hour, that means they are slacking. So they are not competent. They are not able to achieve. They are not obeying. the orders from the superiors. So this is responsibility. Now, when we speak about responsibility, it not only applies to the workers alone, but equally to the managers also, the superiors also. Now in a factory, there are many managers are there. For example, let us pick out the manager who is responsible only for the bread production. So he should not just sit in the chair and start telling, hey, you do this one, that one, this one. No, that is not a responsibility. He should see whether the workers are able to follow his command properly. They are comfortable in understanding what he has told. He has to check, he has to go on rounds, he has to find out whether the machine is operating properly. He has to prepare periodical reports for further discussions, and he has to find out the ways and means to sort out the problems among the workers. So all these things comes under responsibility. So authority means the power to exercise the command, and responsibility means to bring in the obedience of what is said by the superior. So when we come about responsibility, it also applies both to the workers and the managers, their superiors also. So first one is division of labor, second is authority and responsibility. Now let us go to the third principle of management according to Henry Fail. The third one is unity of command. Unity of command. What is this unity of command? Now, you are divided the whole company into different divisions, and one division is making bread, and one division is making cake, and another division is making pastry, pudding, etc. And again, you are assigned some superiors to look over, so authority and responsibility is over. Third, unity of command. This is the most vital one. You know, there's a saying in English, too many cooks spoil the broth. When two people start cooking, what would be the end result? The end result will be zero. For example, there are two cooks and both the cooks put a little salt. What will happen? Ultimately, the taste is away and the end result is zero. So, too many cooks spoil the broth. What is this broth? Broth means something like sambar or something. So, finally, they make a mess out of everything. Right. So, similarly, these employees and workers also, they must be in a position to receive a single command at a time. Very important. A single command at a time. Now, for example, the head of the bread unit is giving a command that all the workers of that section should see that the output of bread should be 5,000 breads, unit of bread at the end of 5 hours. That means every hour 1,000 bread should roll on. Okay. So this is confined to his division. Similarly, the bun, who is heading the bun unit, he says that every hour 2,000 buns should roll out. That means every 5 hours 10,000 buns should roll out. Now just imagine if the head of the bun unit starts commanding the bread unit and the bread unit start commanding the bun unit. So the workers don't know whom to follow. That person comes and produce 10,000 buns, 10,000 breads, and the bun unit workers are getting the command that it is enough 5,000. So everything becomes a mess. So there is no unity. In case, if there are two or three bosses, let them discuss in private and come to a common conclusion, and finally, ultimately, only one command should be given at a time so that the workers are very clear what to do and what not to do. And the process of manufacturing goes on peacefully without any problem. And finally, what happens? The organization goals achieves comfortably. So division of labor is over, Authority and responsibility is over. Unity of command is over. The third one. Now next, discipline. Okay, now you have divided the whole company into separate divisions and authority and responsibilities there. Powers have been given to the superiors and responsibilities being taken, and unity of command also is there. And next one, discipline. Discipline is the most important one, not only for organizations but for any mankind also. If there is no, it's very simple, if there is no discipline, nothing is there. That's all. Everything is there when discipline is there. Okay, because discipline is a basic fundamental thing. Okay, what is this discipline? What is this discipline? Discipline refers to the kindliness towards the workers. Kindliness, a sense of affection, sense of understandability between the superiors and the workers. Now you know that we have given the powers to the superiors, the manager, to the managerial role. The manager should see that the workers are comfortable with him. It can happen only if he is disciplined. If the manager is not disciplined, workers are not disciplined. Workers go out of their way and start bouncing back to the manager, and finally something goes on in the organization instead of the routine. Okay, so discipline means, for example, a manager should not go and fire the workers unnecessarily. Now, it is already set that every 1 hour the bread, 1000 units of bread should roll out. So he should not simply shout at the workers that start producing 2000 units of bread. How can it be? Is it discipline? No. Let me give a small example here. Not a small example, a real example. Sometime back, I was working with one of the CBSE school in Chennai. So one of my colleagues, she was teaching economics for CBSE, and I was handling business studies. So in our free time, she told, why don't you spare a few minutes with me? I'd like to share something, some happening. I told, well, we'll sort out the things when the common rest time for both of us. So we checked out the timetable, and we found out when both were free, and we sat together in the staff room, and she started telling. I told, okay, go ahead. She has an intelligent, very extremely clever son who was working for an IT company in Chennai. So what happened? In that IT company, actually it was headquartered in Germany. That means the headquarters was in Germany. The German headquarters sent a mail to the manager asking him to inform the particular type of 4 workers. That means 3 workers and a lead. Lead means he was leading the team of other 3 workers, and it was a team. To find out a special software which would be vital to increase the business of the company. Similarly, the manager has given the information for the meeting and sent mail to the particular group of workers and told them, gave them direction that they are expected to find a special software, and they would be adequately recognized according to the employee recognition program which is being followed by the IT company time to time. So this was given, and the day came, the person, my colleague's son, she was an economics teacher over there. So her son found out the way for the special software, and it was ready to be implemented, and the same information was passed on to the German counterpart, and German counterpart tried and tested, and it was found successful, and they immediately informed over mail and phone that arrange an employee recognition program specially for these 4 guys who were in charge of innovating that special software. Well, the day came, and the German counterpart, also representative of the German headquarters, came there. And you know what happens? It was very, very unfortunate. The award or the recognition, which was of 10 lakh rupees for the innovation, was given to the manager and not to the lead. And it was not shared among those four guys who had innovated. You know the fact what happened here, what a stupidity the manager did here. From the beginning, he has highlighted that he is working day and night to bring out that innovation of the special software, and the German counterpart also did not have a mechanism to interact directly with that four guys who are doing. It's just blindly believed, and all the 10 lakh rupees and certificates and mementos extra went to the manager instead of these four guys. And you know what happened to the lead? The lead told his mom, who was an economics teacher, a colleague of me, "Mom, I'm going to just get out from this organization." She was very much affected by this. So he narrated all what happened, and now he's in Aurobindo Ashram doing meditation. See the amount of impact which led. So everything is here. What happened is discipline was not followed. Either the Indian counterpart did not follow or the headquarters should not follow. So my dear management students, take extreme care that it should not tarnish the feelings of the employees, and discipline is one of the most important principles of management. So let me rewind. Division of labor is over, authority and responsibility is over, unity of command is over, discipline is over. Now let us see the fifth one. Centralization and decentralization. So centralization, decentralization. What is this? Let me give you the small meaning of this. Centralization means the concentration of power for decision making and planning. Again, I repeat, centralization means the concentration of power for decision making and planning. Decentralization means assigning the task as per the discussion of the plans and decision taken. Okay, so I hope the concept is clear for you. In the centralization process, they are going to plan and make a blueprint and do everything. Decentralization, they are going to assign the work according to what they have discussed and what they have brought out in the course of discussion. Centralization, decentralization. So why this should be done? You know that even the central government, it makes a blueprint, it plans out a lot of things, and it also gives a certain powers to the state government, and according to central government plans and decisions and discussions, the state government carries forward. So this helps an organization to function effectively and efficiently. So centralization and decentralization. So let us rewind again. Division of labor, authority and responsibility, unity of command, discipline, centralization and decentralization. The next one is scalar chain. What is a scalar chain? See, in our example, we have taken a bread unit, bakery unit. So here, it has become a very big company. Many employees are being recruited day by day, time to time, period by period. And the production has gone up several times. It has become fairly large. So here, a sense of hierarchy should be maintained. Scalar chain means a sense of hierarchy. What is this hierarchy? For example, the chairman, the managing director, the CEO, general manager, section heads, workers. See how many layers of management is here. So this is very essential so that the tasks are divided according to the hierarchy, and it makes the organization easier to achieve its goal, and the graph ultimately goes up and down, up and up, climbs up and up once they follow their tasks properly, once the hierarchy is being followed. Now, for example, a worker wants to get his leave approved. He can't go to the chairman first. Is he going to go to the chairman to get his leave approved? No. He goes to his superior, supervisor, and supervisor takes to a manager and so on. So the worker is not going to go directly to the chairman or the managing director. No. So he passes the information to his immediate superior, and superior carries on. And finally, if it is justifiable, his work, his needs will be fulfilled. Otherwise, he will get a suitable reply. Okay. Now, what happens when, in case of emergency, suppose a worker is getting a call from his family members, there's a danger. Night 2 o'clock is getting a call. His phone rings and somebody tells that it's some sort of emergency, he had to rush. And he is out of station, about 300 kilometers away. Company is 300 kilometers away. Now, in this position, is he going to go to the chairman or the managing director or his superior? He can't even meet the general manager. He can't go. He can't follow all this hierarchy. So, in that case, what happens? He can meet his immediate superior and get the things and goes ahead. In all other cases, suppose if his work is not able to be completed, he has to follow the hierarchy. Okay. So, this in management terms we call it as gangplank. When the worker meets his immediate superior and gets his things done in case of emergency, it's called gangplank, G-A-N-G, gang, P-L-A-N-K, plank, gangplank. On the other hand, it is when they follow the hierarchy system top to bottom, that is the hierarchy flows from the top to the bottom, that is called scalar chain. And many a times they have asked about this gangplank and scalar chain in the examination. So, be very comfortably understood about this concept. Scalar chain. So, division of labor is over. Second one is authority and responsibility, unity of command, discipline, centralization, decentralization. Scalar chain is over. Now, next one, the seventh one. So, seventh one would be unity of direction, unit of direction. See, all the employees, whether it's the employees or the managers or the top level management or the middle level management, whoever it is, the whole organization should move forward in a set direction as planned. For example, in our organization, every 5 hours they are producing 5,000 breads. So, the whole organization should see that the 5,000 breads are rolled out in the next 5 hours. Similarly, the buns, the next 5 hours, 10,000 buns, we have set the target. It has to roll. Finally, the organization should reach their expected target. So, for example, a motorbike company, if the target is to produce about 75 lakh motorbikes every 6 months, the whole organization should move towards direction. They should not go here and there. Okay, so only then the organization would be comfortably achieving its goals. Now, for example, let us take bread unit itself. The management has set, the organization has set the target of 5,000 bread every 5 hours. If the workers are not able to produce 5,000 breads, they are producing only 4,000, 1,000 short. That means they are not going towards the direction of making 5,000 breads. That unity is not there. So, if in that case, the superior should immediately check out what is happening there, why they are not able to follow, and quickly rectify and see that again bring back to the track. Bring back. For example, when we take a baby in our hand, it falls down. What we do? Will we leave it? We don't leave it. Again, lift him up, give the confidence, and start moving to the direction where we want to move. So, the direction, unity of direction is very, very important. For example, a horse cart. The rider who is driving the car, horse, should ensure that the horse goes in a particular direction. If he leaves loose, what happens? The horse start going here and there, hither and thither, and ends up in a mess. So the organization should move in the set direction which is already planned and made a blueprint. So unity of direction. So these are the 7 principles of management. I rewind once again. Number 1 is division of labor. Second one is authority and responsibility. Number 3, unity of command. Number 4, discipline. Then centralization, decentralization. Then scalar chain. Then unity of direction. So we have completed these 7 principles of management here, and I'll meet you in my next presentation, BJA presentation video number 5, where I will be discussing about the next set of principles, so that 7 plus 7, 14 will be there. So you may revise this video once again, how many times, however you need, so that you become perfect. You know that management students, try to understand the concept, develop your own theory, that's it. Don't go out of the concept. Once you understand the concept, your study becomes easier, your learning becomes easier. Not simply rote memory, memorizing, no, that will not help you. So let me stop here, and before that, as usually, I'm going to upload this video on YouTube. Please subscribe and like, and please pass on your comments too, so that it would also be helpful for me to rectify if necessary. And I hope everybody comfortably understood. Thank you very much.